theologian, and he's opening pathways and opening modes of communication a little bit deeper, look a little bit in such clarity, not only resonate with the biblical context, but in fact, this is where, from our point of view, they find their fullest expression. And so to that audience, we want to see, look a little bit deeper, look a little bit broader. We're also speaking, though, to Christian audiences as well, to see, look at the work that Jordan Peterson is doing. Perhaps he doesn't see it this way, but he's a serious theologian, and he's opening pathways and opening modes of communication that can help us.
What is a theologian?
Here's the definition of theologian: a person who engages or is an expert in theology.
And someone who is very Christ-centered. That's the Zeta Zero factor. The way that these Zeta Zeros just stay on the line, whatever axis you're looking at, they just are on a continual. They all lie on this one line, and they want to know why. These two doctors, in their explanations of what motivated them to write this book, just seem like they recognized the masses that were coming and growing in the lectures that you were doing, your videos, your influence, and they wanted. It's funny, Dr. Kessner said that the way that you approached, like, you didn't ask yourself, were these real people? You just looked at it from a philosophical point of view, and that was like, so what he said, like, somebody said the scripture is just a collection of, like, I'm sure that was Dr. Kessner who said that, and then all of a sudden, he catches your lectures, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like, that's the charge that people can get. You don't want to give it, you're not intentionally trying to be biased towards one or the other, positive or negative towards theology. But we can definitely see, like, when your wavelengths are going like that, which is good. It's like Bruce Lee said, be like water, just flow and you'll never grow stale. One things that I do find myself being concerned about is just the state of your health. I haven't really gone deep into just that part of just getting to know you, but I don't know, like Dr. Peterson, from a behavioral professional like you, like, do you think that opening a key, or even say giving a key or the key to everybody, just one same copy of the key to everybody who is just questioning everything, or specifically questioning existence or creation, or just the most preliminary, basic, elementary beginning points of questioning consciousness or being conscious. And that's what kind of worries me about this new wave of these authoritarians that are growing from the seed that you've planted. I'm sure maybe, I've planted these seeds before, and I just question, do I need to hold back or whatever? And no, I've gone the same way. Just be myself. Don't be focused on an agenda. Just let it be natural. So again, I just appreciate that. And as an artist and just as somebody who admires you, I just hope that if you see my channel and recognize any similarities, that you understand that I intend it to be more flattering than questioning. So, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. And here's two types of imitation. Or maybe I'm doing imitation, they are doing kind of like a reinterpretation or a recreation, or making a relation for their nation. But okay, so that was at 8:41 up to Genesis, the literal sense in Scripture and the truth in fiction.
More clearly communicate some of these biblical truths as well. I also have a personal reason for it. I began watching you, actually Chris introduced me to your work, and I began watching your work online, everything you put out to watch. And what I found so fascinating is, from my point of view, you exhibit a lot of the Christian virtue of courage. And people were attracted to that. They were attracted to hearing truths, including very hard truths. And I thought I want to dig deeper to see what this phenomenon, what's been called the Jordan Peterson phenomenon, really is.
Yeah, this is a strange thing for me. Is the popularity of those biblical lectures. I mean, it came as a shock,
I too found it a shock that people didn't look at this book this way, especially at later stages, full grown adults who never even thought to grasp the content of this book in the way that we do. And you have, long before I. But on the same thing, I've been looking at it the same way. It took me 40 years to finish this book and be able, I went verse by verse, I kind of skimmed through just to figure out what the heck is going on. But again, these authoritarians, Catholics, it's all about who's going to take over for the Pope. I don't know. I looked up Word on Fire. The future's not going to need these churches. So these men are going to find themselves essentially out of work, or not in the work that's going to be as evangelically profitable as they may think or not think about right now. But again, this is where the path comes to the split, and you have to ask yourself why. Are we going to go straight path? Are we going to take a 90-degree angle because we look at this way as the right angle? Or are we going to go polarized, or, you know, not straight, but straight in one way or the other? Is this a good way of just kind of setting up a new language to where you later in the lecture ask, like, there needs to be some kind of language that combines all of these things. So I just want to make a note that my speech and vernacular and stuff in this way is just to help answer, or at least work towards an answer for that. Because again, like I said, that's what science is trying to do mathematically. Is explain this book mathematically. So with the law of compensation, again, Dr. Jordan, I don't know if you've ever studied like the Tao Te Ching, the way of the Tao, just Asian philosophy, just like the similarities between Jesus's parables and just ancient philosophy or wisdom. But again, that would be just a way for me to just give you just where you're starting from Genesis and going to Exodus. I would, like to help start this New Testament portion, get that going, because there is a lot of dark energy and dark matter. If you look at studies based on the non-zero energy theory of the universe, that the universe has no energy because I don't even want to get into that, but again, what I find fascinating is that dark matter has been shown to slow down the expansion of the expanding universe, whereas dark energy speeds it up. And this is another mass gap in the first millennial problem, the Yang-Mills and the mass gap problem. So again, like, I in my thoughts just wrote down, like, which one is better for the preservation of sentient life here and its survival in the future? So here is my fork right now, where depending on how I look at it, I can see it as the right angle. But I know I'm going on this path. But if we're looking at a straight line that we're on, a path just fully in line with what we believe and all of that, and then we get to this fork where it's now this, which is a very symbolic thing. Christians look at the cross. I look at this when I think of Jesus Christ and what he means to me, the why. And so just symbolism. I'm all about symbolism and translating, just I guess in an odd way. But again, like I said, from one perspective, it's all about dimensional thinking. And I am on a very high dimension of thinking, and I think that you are definitely on that. They say there's 10 or 11, I can tell you whatever, but there are 12 laws of the universe that I have just studied along with the scripture, which I intend to incorporate in my videos. And I hope that if you watch, that again, you make note of that and just critique me in any way. Help me know if I'm in alignment with my goals. You know, I'm somebody who believes that a brain trust is very important whenever you're setting off into a new venture. And a brain trust is where I find myself at the center of some minds. Odd number 5, 3, you know, it's got to be odds. I have to be in the middle to control that I don't get too inflated or deflated. And with that theory of, okay, I'm in the center, I need 2 minds on one side where I just like look up to, and then these 2 minds who may look up to me, that I can pass this wisdom and my wisdom down to them, and vice versa. They can ask me questions that I can ask through them, and it's just a symbiotic relationship where it's not a circle, but there's a center point that creates the infinity that we, as the bridge makers, the translators, or the interpreters that we are, can do. We can create an infinite loop of something. And it sounds like these 2 doctors are on the path of creating another infinite loop of this, which is great. I have a plan for them in the new year of the Lord, if you want to say. Because yes, in my mind, last Christmas, that was the year of the Lord, the day that Jesus Christ was born. And just on a mental, spiritual sense, where I'm manifesting this figure that I was shown like I am. And it's one of hope, not of power or anything like that. And so again, I always inform the people in my brain trust, like, this is how I can only stay in the center. If I have people I can open up to and just be able to just back and forth in just a fashion that works best for us, and have them be aware that I rely on them to keep me accountable, you know, just as I will be there to help try to keep them accountable if they ask, or if I find that maybe something else, or, you know, just looking out for the collective of the brain trust. Being in the center, you know, it's not a hierarchy, but it's just the focal point. And so the narcissistic disorder, I guess, in me makes me go from self-centering to, I want to stay self-centered here in this collective, so please help me do that. Unless you have something else where you're in here and all of a sudden, you know, like, just let me know. Does that make sense? It's all about ebb and flow and where you are on this energy grid. It's not always infinite. It's sometimes this way, or flat this way, or just anywhere. We've all seen atoms and protons. That's what we are. We're just constant energy moving around, except for these zeta zeros. That's just their energy, and all that is just on a straight line, just on the up and down y-axis, while everybody else is passing along on this x-axis. And then when you add in the z-axis, it's just like, it's just constant steps. But again, if you zoom out and look at the graph that's looking like it's just gradual steps, it shows the pattern that it's just constantly like this. And so going back to the question of which direction or which energy or matter is more threatening or most beneficial to us. I think about that question on all that's going on right now. We are at a crucial point in this critical theory of this grand experiment that's been going on since the beginning, which ultimately was the result of, like, what if I told you that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth? God right there was a goal, an objective, and specific deadlines that created the heavens and the earth, the entire universe, from a pre-generation or even a already still existing. We are children of some galactic federations to some people, but what if, just like Dr. Sagan had added, the disk to, what was it, Voyager or whichever scope is out there furthest, in hopes that whoever finds the scope with the capability of intelligence will track it and come to us. Where then men like Stephen Hawking say that is a terrible idea. Like, why do we want to invite somebody with a bigger stick than us, possibly, or most likely, to us? And so those are both rational and legitimate perceptions and fears that I can say I was just like, oh my God, I was like, why don't the aliens want me? But again, what if another group of sentient beings shot some type of disk into maybe a black hole, or, all came together because of some threat, possibly a population control experiment or whatever. Like, for whatever reason, maybe the Big Bang was the beginning of the end of another galaxy that was possibly being sucked into a black hole or something. Like these black holes that we are now finding that are emitting massive amounts of energy and affecting life in new ways that are now just being seen or, looked at. So, this portion again is just to just get some thoughts out to help me write this language. But again, get your invitation into my trust out there, and acknowledged that that's it. Russell Brand is another person I've just kind of been interacting in this way. So those were the two people on that end, if you want to know, and then the two people, I got many people under me, but again, I see the strain that it's kind of taking on you personally. Actually, I will admit, just as of late, since you're Why You Love Great Britain lecture with white everywhere, that was beautiful. It's like, oh no, it was like that scene in Bruce Almighty. And it really spoke to me. And I see even clearer how everything comes together. So again, thank you for that answer when I had that question. I just, again, just like, how do I unify all of this? And it was your video that was the sign, and I watched it, and it was just part of my proof that this is what happened. I don't know how much data you need to prove to yourselves that what I'm talking about and what we're talking about is absolutely not crazy. And again, you have your doctorate. I don't have a doctorate. So my parents had to be very, very cautious and prepared for any possible moment where one of my delusions of grandeur end up not being as thought out as I normally do since I was a child, and have that lead me on a path that's just no longer motivated or chasing towards anything. So again, when I was on that path, it was you who gave me a carrot, or at least helped me see the carrot I was chasing before, or had forgotten where I put it, or even who was holding it. You know, just so many philosophical references I can make, but just again, like, the secret to my happiness is just letting people who truly have contributed to my happiness in an indirect way, like yourself. I have to do this. This is just my personality. Like, this is my OCD. So yeah, I don't know. Some people love it. Some people love it too much. Some people maybe never hear it. But again, if I don't put it out there, then I will always wonder why or whatever. So again, this is just me obeying the laws, the 12 laws of nature that I focus my 12 rules of life around to abide by, to keep me on this flow that doesn't really ever get stale. It just allows me to stay formless and void in a sense, you know, just, yeah, fill me with whatever you want, but you know, I'm gonna probably take a lot of it in. I might spit some of it out. I may, you know, whatever. But darkness was on the face of the deep. You know, wherever you look at darkness, you can't have light without darkness. So, you know, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. What are the waters? They're the seas, the Christian churches, the Christianity churches, the speed of light